It's Thursday. You know what time it is. Time for the hottest new wrestling podcast on the planet, Beyond the Barricade, with your hosts, Dollar Bill, the Cleaner, and the Brain. Let's get started.
All right.
All
Gonna be a
right,
good
so
show tonight.
yeah, very good show tonight. A discussion about what we were talking about last episode. We started to get into it, but we decided to save it for this one. So anybody
Exactly.
remember what we were talking about?
What
Yes, we're
it'll take for a promotion to get your attention and your attendance.
pretty much how are they gonna get your money?
Pretty much, yeah.
So
Yeah.
does anybody want to start?
Ah,
Personally, my first
go
thing
for it.
is how approachable they are when you have the show, how approachable the wrestlers are. Because you don't want
Mm,
guys who are going to be pains in the ass and dicks to the customers, because then you're not going to have guys who want to wrestle there, and two, you want the fans to be able to enjoy themselves, and you want guys who are personable. You want guys who are out there to expose themselves to the greater public, so they can get uh, more exposure to the bigger levels.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you want to show it's for me, one of the things I liked is not just the person like being approachable or personal, but also the fact that the show is entertaining its own right and that they tell a good story, especially even with the wrestling in the ring, that makes me want to go back and go back and watch it again and watch the next show because it's like, okay, I want to know what's going to happen here, or oh, this person's really awesome and I want to see more. Like to me, this is where I get a lot of disagreements, but to me, it's just I need to see good action in the ring because if I just hear the story, I can go out to any soap opera. I can watch an anime. I can watch anything else. But the reason I like in wrestling is that there's action with it. And I like the style of action. I like moves. I like the thoughts behind it, like
Yes,
how they
the
tell a story.
athleticism. Um, I can agree to that. It's why I'm such a big fan of New Japan Pro Wrestling and when they were owned by Sinclair, Ring of Honor, because they didn't treat it like a TV show. They didn't treat it like Real World or Big Brother or, something like that. They treated it like a sport. Yes, we all know that the outcome is predetermined, but when I watch it, like you said, I want to see the athleticism of the performers. I want to see the stories that I want to see are being told or should be told in the ring, not through not some guy sleeping with the corpse of a body as I go away. And yeah, see, like this is Undertaker stuff, you know?
Yeah.
We don't want this. I don't want this in my wrestling. What I want is haha, see, like no, oh, now the lights come on. Now I'm here.
Oh, no.
Ooh, spooky. Ooh, I could do lightning that hits the ring, but only the people at home could see.
Mhm.
Um, but like the stuff that I like is like Okada and Omega going
Mm.
70 minutes in a
Oh, yeah.
best out of three
Definitely.
match.
Going back
And
to the old territory days, Flair and
yeah,
Steamboat going an
Yeah.
hour and a half
yeah,
every night.
yeah, like they were, and those stories were simplified.
Yeah,
They weren't, Triple H getting inside a coffin and pretending to screw a dead woman's brains out.
Makes no sense.
No,
That took me out.
yeah, like that's why if I was older during the Monday Night Wars, I probably would have been a WCW guy. Although being, in the New York area, we have MSG, I would have been able to watch ECW. That's probably where my money would have went.
I'll give you an example for Ring of Honor that about the ring, about the story in the ring that also sells me. For example, and I'm gonna go way back here.
Mhm.
It was a final battle between Samoa Joe and oh god, I can't remember his name, but it was for the title.
Austin
Not
Aries?
thank you, Aries. Yeah, Austin
Yes.
Aries. Okay. I wasn't caught up with the story at then. I wasn't really caught up with it, but when I saw that match, it was my first time really seeing the feud, seeing it in action. but I understood the story behind it. I
Yes.
understood the intensity. I understood how much it meant. So for that to draw me in, even though I was not part of the whole story, I wasn't there from the beginning. That to me is something very special because that makes me want to say, "Wow, I want to go see more." In fact, that's kind of how I got onto more indie wrestling because there was some stuff that made me go, "Okay, I want to see more."
Yes. And like as a reminder, this is during the time when Ring of Honor was the only way you could watch Ring of Honor was by the DVDs,
Yeah.
by the VHSs, which I don't know if they were making Ring of Honor VHSs at the time.
No, I don't
But
think they were. I think went straight to DVD.
okay, yeah. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, the point is, like, you could only watch Ring of Honor through pay-per-view because or DVDs because they weren't on pay-per-view yet.
nope.
They weren't big enough to have TV, and there was no streaming at the time.
No YouTube,
No,
no nothing.
Yeah,
no,
so obviously it's kind of hard to watch Ring of Honor if you don't know about it. And to say like to show you how like invested you became in the match, in that moment. Because if I remember right, that's the final battle where Aries defeated the 2-year reign of Samoa Joe, right?
Oh
Yes,
yeah, I
yes,
got caught up in that moment. Like I went with the
yes,
crowd and exploded.
yes. No matter like yes, we look at Austin Aries in a much different light today. But back then, that is even today, that's still one of Ring of Honor's biggest moments.
Yeah,
no doubt, no doubt.
no doubt.
And
I, I,
I'm just gonna finish this one thought, but
but
it's just for me, storylines don't need to be this convoluted thing. Like you don't need a reason, like you don't need a story for two wrestlers to fight because you could always make a story coming out of it, and it's a simple story. It doesn't have to be somebody sleeping with other sisters. It doesn't have to be choppy choppy pee pee. It doesn't have to be, oh, I'm gonna spill coffee on you in the back and catering. It could be just simple stories.
Mm, I
agreed.
mean, your turn, John. I want to hear this.
I got turned on to Ring of Honor because of you, Dollar Bill. We went to a couple of shows down in Edison at the Inman Sports Arena.
Mm-hmm.
One of the worst places to ever have a wrestling show, but
Right.
Oh,
it's where Ring of Honor was running at the time.
Ring of Honor is very used to that. I went to a show at Terminal 5. Uh, that's probably just as bad.
I
Terminal
w
5 is a good music venue, but it's not a good wrestling venue.
I
Yeah,
was there with the Murphy Rec Center, and
Mm,
where it got so crowded the fire marshals got called in a couple times.
yeah, I'm
wow.
not surprised.
Yeah, I
Not
was there.
surprised. Yeah.
They never got that bad at Inman, but
No.
just to get to your seats, it was a pain in the ass because there was only one staircase from the main entrance down into the pit where the wrestling ring was and the seats
Yeah.
were. But
Um.
the
Oh,
action at Ring of Honor
yeah.
was absolutely phenomenal.
Yes, and I
And
wish I could
then,
have watched that early Ring of Honor because the first time I ever heard about Ring of Honor was 2008 when Bryan Danielson first signed with WWE. And that's when I discovered Ring of Honor. And then I discovered Botchamania. And then I would see that was like my first actual legitimate exposure to independent wrestling,
Yeah.
and they would
mine
always,
came before that.
well,
Mine
okay,
came way before that.
so around
Okay.
the same time, that's when PWG started putting out those trailers, those
Hmm.
infamous trailers with
Yeah.
that same song each and every time. And I would watch that and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then I'd start waiting up for the Young Bucks match. And then that's
Mm.
how they got me into like to actually go out and find Ring of Honor. They got me into New Japan Pro Wrestling. They got me into wrestling outside of WWE because the only two companies that I truly knew at the time were WWE and TNA. That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
I got started with independent wrestling because a buddy of mine was actually in the Jersey All Pro dojo.
Oh
Mm.
God.
He was in the school,
Yeah.
The
and
the
I
one
went
the
I
one that
went
was in
to
Charity Hall.
yeah,
Yep.
Oh,
and I went to several of those shows.
Oh, I
yeah.
was there.
Is
I remember those.
when their catch line was blood is better,
Oh man, like I
and trust
wish.
me, that was not a lie.
I
Nope.
I
wish.
can't tell you how many times having front row seats, I went home with blood all over me.
You know what's insane? I recently saw a video
Hmm.
of from Charity Hall. low key against this isn't 2000, mind you.
Right.
Low key versus Sabu. Like,
Oh,
mind you, this is ECW Sabu that's about to jump ship to XPW. And I'm like thinking to myself, because I grew up on the same block in Bayonne,
yeah.
and to think that some of the biggest stars in wrestling over the next 10 to 20 years are fighting 10 blocks away from me at what's now considered it's now a liquor store.
Yep.
Hmm.
Because I remember back in the day, my sister used to go to during October, they would turn it into like a haunted house type thing.
Yep. I
Yep.
remember those.
I
And
remember that too.
I didn't, had I would have known to see guys like CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, the Briscoes, Jay Lethal, to see them at that venue. And mind you, like those early days of JAPW, they were having running like they had a partnership with ECW. So
Uh,
like
I
Dudley's
believe.
had shown up,
Yeah.
Sabu, Tommy Dreamer,
Hmm.
the Nasty Boys, I think. So like it's insane to me the amount of wrestling talent that has been that has walked through the doors and has competed here in my hometown.
Definitely.
It's
And
a,
even when Jersey All Pro ran in Jersey City
Yeah,
at Golden Door Charter School down on 10th Street,
yes.
downtown by the mall.
And one of the most
mm,
infamous feuds during that time between Jay Lethal and one of the biggest stars of professional wrestling today, Kenny Omega.
Yes.
Like Kenny Omega was
mhm.
hitting his like he got to Japan because of his work in Jersey All Pro.
Hmm. He was just hitting his stride in Jersey All Pro, and then he got picked up by New Japan, and
No, first he got picked up by DDT Pro, and
Ah,
okay,
he'd
but
spent a number of years, about 2 or 3 years there, and then he would go in between DDT Pro and then New Japan, and then around like 2014, 2015, he was like strictly New Japan.
yeah, but I was at a couple of matches with him and Jay, and oof, they were
Oh
hard
my
hitting, and
God.
high flying.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they actually had a couple matches in 2016,
Yeah,
just as hard hitting, just
and
as
one
hard
that
hitting.
another
Yeah.
another angle that they did was the invasion angle between Jersey All Pro and CZW.
CZW is used to doing that, right? They
Yeah,
Yeah.
did an invasion
but when
angle
they
with
did it
They
Jersey
did a
back
Pro.
lot.
then, when
Yeah.
they did it back then, it was a lot better. They did a lot better and a lot
Well,
harder
what I'm
because
saying
they
is,
sent two of their hardest hitting guys to Jersey All Pro to invade
well, I'm
the
saying
promotion.
like, I'm not comparing to the WWF invasion angle. I'm talking about CZW versus ROH. That is like
Yeah.
still considered one of the like greatest feuds in ROH because it introduced a lot of talent to Ring of Honor,
Hmm.
but it's also like so memorable because like they actually had Cage of Death at Ring
Mm.
of Honor,
Right.
and it was just like a just a mix between the two companies, and because it's like you have the deathmatch style of CZW
Yeah.
versus the pure style of Ring of Honor, you know?
That's a clash right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was watching some of those matches, man. The intensity of the crowd, it those were the days, man. Those were the days.
Yeah.
That actually
Definitely.
is a good segue to the next question then is do you think the amount do you think the amount of stars are also what brings you to a draw into watching other federations? Like we
Yeah,
just mentioned about the whole invasion angle being exposed. I mean, would say I'll give a raw example. Kenny Omega going to some other I can't think of anybody right any wrestling ring right any promotion right now, but say something else local nearby
yeah.
and they're
Oh yeah,
advertised.
no,
Would
yeah.
that bring you to that show?
I could give you a perfect example right now.
Go for it.
Um, so there's a couple of YouTubers that I watch. They started their own podcast,
Great.
and then now they started their own promotion. They've been running locally in North Carolina. They're called
Nice.
Deadlock Pro.
I've heard of them. I've heard of that.
Yes, yes.
I'm gonna have to check
And
them out.
for the first
Yeah.
time this Sunday, they're actually running in another state, New Jersey, Ridgefield Park. And
Nice.
I was like on the fence about going,
Hmm.
The first talent they named
Hmm.
was one of the up and coming Japanese female talents by the name of Mayu Yamashita.
I've heard.
Yeah, she's one of the big names of Tokyo Joshi.
Hmm.
And so she was booked on that show, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get this. So I was able to snag the last front row ticket. And
Nice.
since then, they've announced Mayu Yamashita versus independent legend Nicole Matthews.
Ooh,
So
Nice
that's going to be
call.
a very good matchup. They've
that's
That's
sick.
announced
That's
other
sick.
other names, including there's actually going to be one match with GCW and CZW legend Matt Tremont.
mm,
Ah, the bulldozer.
Yes. So
He's got
if
his
you
own promotion.
yes, H2O.
Yeah.
Where
that's
they
very
run out?
interesting.
They're down in
South
South Jersey
Jersey.
somewhere.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. That's very interesting to see that, like that the amount
I want to say
the stars
Williamstown or something
draws
like
it,
that.
draws it in there like that.
That does sound
Especially for
familiar.
especially for different promotions. I mean, that's kind of how I got into Chicago. 'Cause some of the
Hmm.
other guys I saw like were promoting there, and I was like, all right, I will check him out. Back in the day with Crackenbush when he was wrestling with Jersey Up Pro
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, I was right. Williamstown, New Jersey.
There you go.
Yeah, but yeah, like I said, that's how I got into independent wrestling, wrestling outside of WWE is because I found two guys that, they were smug, like their characters were smug, but they were getting some of the biggest pops. They were doing the craziest moves. And now like I consider them my favorite wrestlers of all time. Like I have their book, I have so many of their shirts. I support the company that they founded on their own.
Hmm.
I literally got my friends to drive us overnight to Chicago for their biggest show that they've ever the biggest show that they have ever done, which was self-funded by themselves, you know?
See,
So
Nice.
like I'm such a big fan of these guys and they got me into wrestling. They've saved my if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't know you guys.
sweet. Yeah. And one last thing also to cover, because there's also there because when it comes to getting a promotion to buy your stuff, it always feels like this guy, it's the stars, it's the story they tell in the ring. And I think the last one is also we gotta talk about this. The crowd.
Yeah,
Yes.
because there's the crowd could definitely separate you between, the next big indie
Mhm.
or just some local indie, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
That was the thing about PWG, man. Every single show was run out of the same small building that you could you wouldn't understand why they would have wrestling there. Maybe at most 100, 150 people were there. It'd be hot as hell, sweltering heat, no room for the wrestlers. But every
Wow.
single match, that place was on fire. Like it was hot in terms of how great that crowd was. And it made PWG the place to be.
Right.
Ring of Honor, the crowds were always amazing.
Yeah.
That made it
Indeed.
a very good place to be. You look at TNA, the difference between those Hogan years and those like 2007, those X Division years, it's completely different. And that's what made TNA very good versus what they became.
And even to a good point, we'll put for AEW because that's kind of how it got built up.
Yeah.
The fans, the crowd type in AEW, they're more the guys that are attracting like like the indie circuits.
Yeah.
Because you're getting a
Yeah.
lot of the guys off of the indies.
Exactly.
Like a
Yeah.
good portion of their roster came from our local indies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
You got
that's,
you got Jungle
because,
Boy,
yeah.
you got Eddie Kingston,
Yeah, definitely
you
Kingston.
got Claudio, you got Brian
Yeah.
Danielson,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
got
Mm-hmm.
Moxley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And mind you, they're not, they're not they don't have their own performance center. And yeah, they have a partnership with Cody's school, but it's just a partnership, you know.
Yeah.
They don't have their own performance center and they're not looking for athletes that have just wrapped up like they can't play football anymore because of an injury, or they're not looking for models who, their work is dried up. They're signing guys who are proving themselves on the indies. Like
Exactly.
hell, Billy Starks. She's 18 years old. She's making a name for herself. And like she's become one of the biggest free agents out there. And
I just
now,
saw her on one of the episodes of Honor Club. I just watched a couple of
yes,
Mm.
episodes today,
yes, and
and
now
she was
she's
very good.
officially signed to AEW.
Right. Now, is she going to be working AEW or is she going to be working ROH?
I think at first she's probably gonna start in ROH.
That's where I saw her. She
Yeah,
is
to
very
probably get
good.
some exposure. She's been
Sh
working some AEW dates as well. Like a couple weeks ago, she did Rampage against Jade Cargill, and
Squash
yeah,
match.
yeah,
Made a
it
squash match,
was.
but how well can you make even a squash match? You could still look good in
Make
it.
your opponent look good. Yeah,
Agreed.
like that's
That's
what happened with like Nia Jax and Braun Strowman, like 2016 when they first got called up. They were being made, they were looking good because they were getting put against talent, that were very good. Like especially like what Nia Jax, one of Nia Jax's squash matches was against
she had a
Dr.
few of them.
She had one of her squash matches on Raw was against Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. So like it just because they're jobbers, they're squash matches now, doesn't mean in a couple of years they're not going to be a big name.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody starts off as a jobber. I don't care
Yeah,
who you are. You always
Yes,
start off
yeah,
as a
indeed.
jobber.
yep,
Indeed.
Yeah. Yeah. So then this also leads into the next segment there because when we talk about the crowds and the wrestlers and the action and then getting the talent to sign up, I'll give you one example of a talent that recently resigned and we wonder how much is going to influence the product. FTR.
yes,
Yes.
yes, because like especially with all these rumors that Vince McMahon might be having a bigger impact in WWE again, you know, they probably were like, so like supposedly they've been set for months now that they were going to come back to AEW and re-sign with AEW, but they were all teasing it. They were teasing it. They were teasing jumping back to WWE, and I'll be honest, it got them that buzz. It got them that buzz. So
Yeah,
you're not
definitely.
surprised. But no, yeah, they're gonna have a very big influence on that tag team division. And that's what they love to do. They love to fight as like as a tag team. And when you go back to WWE, if you're a tag team, you're only a tag team to be split up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense at
Vince
all.
McMahon
No,
has never liked tag teams.
no.
He's
And even with Triple H, he's eventually broken up some of his major tag teams,
I know.
including DIY. Um, I'm trying to think. The Vaudevillains got split up. But then, there's some that just made it to the main roster and then they got treated like crap.
hmm
It's always
FTR.
tricky. Yeah,
Yeah,
FTR's one of them.
FTR was one of the main ones that got treated like crap when they got up to the main roster.
yeah.
They didn't
And
really
then
have a good run at anything. They didn't
no,
have, I mean, they won championships, but how long did they keep them? A
yeah.
month, 2 months?
And when
And
this,
I hope within this next deal, because they're signed for 4 years.
Mhm.
So we're probably gonna release this on Friday. And so if you're watching before Rampage, they are going to announce that they re-signed with AEW for 4 years. So, and after that contract, they said they're going to retire. So, what I would like to see at least once is them competing in New Japan's World Tag League. And I bring this up because that's the showcase of tag team wrestling. And I would love to see more like tag team wrestlers from other companies join that tournament. Mind you, I would like to see wrestlers from other companies join the other tournaments in New Japan, like the
always,
Super
always.
Junior, the Best of Super Juniors, which is coming up in a
Yeah,
couple
that's
months.
hmm
Um,
Yeah, Jacob was like and Super Juniors. They were like fantastic to
yeah,
watch.
Jacob was basically the junior heavyweight version of the New Japan Cup,
Yeah.
which wrapped up not that long ago. Um, I would, my wet dream is to see Ryan Danielson, Eddie Kingston, Claudio Castagnoli. in the G1.
Ooh,
Ooh,
I can
that
only think about
oh, that would be
Okada
insane.
and Kingston going pound for pound, swing for swing in the summer heat of Tokyo, and it
Ouch.
ending at uh uh Ryogoku Ryogoku Sumo Hall.
just
Because
when it.
yeah, that's where they announced the finals are going to be this year.
Mm,
Because the last
Nice.
4 or 5 years, the finals have taken place out of the Budokan,
but
which
the
is
Budokan Hall.
yeah, Budokan, which is one of the biggest venues in Japan.
Hmm.
It's a very popular music venue. It's in Pro Wrestling Noah's like signature venue. Like New Japan has the Tokyo Dome, Pro
Yep.
Wrestling Noah has the Budokan. And yeah, New Japan was able to book it for the finals of the G1 Climax. And
Mm.
Excellent.
so yeah, for the first time in like 6 years, they're moving away from that and they're going back to Sumo Hall. And supposedly there's rumors that Bryan Danielson actually might be in the G1 Climax this year because New
Wow.
Japan's running they're running promos for a monster type character.
Mm.
And the reason is because if you look at the beginning, they do an intro with like the New Japan logo, but
Uh-huh.
it's done in the style of Toho the Toho movie company,
Right, kind
which
of like
is
the Godzilla movies, in case you're not
yes,
familiar.
that's exactly where I was going with.
Yeah.
It's trying to emulate a trailer for the Godzilla films. And
Mm.
it's talking about coming soon, and it's like a bunch of like monster eyes and monster sounds, and it looks like it's coming for Tokyo. So one of the big rumors is that that could be
Okay.
Bryan Danielson.
American Dragon. Why
Yes, the
not?
American Dragon right there.
Yeah.
And to see him in the G1 climax, like Okada wants him, Zack Sabre Jr. wants him. So many people would love to get in the ring with Bryan Danielson, especially in New Japan, because that's where those fighters are, those pure technical wrestlers. They belong in New Japan.
Yeah. I just want to touch up on it. So,
Yes,
the G1, so you would say the G1 is probably New Japan's biggest event.
no.
Okay, I want to
So
get
it's
that.
their biggest tournament. It's the
Okay.
biggest, I would say it's the biggest tournament in professional wrestling. It's bigger than the
Okay.
PWG Bola Battle of Los Angeles. It's bigger than the King of the Ring.
Yeah.
It's bigger than Bound for Glory. It's bigger than pretty much any other tournament out there because what it is, it's a round robin tournament. Basically, it was usually two blocks of 8 wrestlers each,
Hmm.
16 in total. But last year they actually did 4 blocks of 6 wrestlers. It was the biggest
Mm.
G1 climax. And so basically you get I think it's 2 points for a victory, 1 point for a draw, no points for a loss. And you face everybody in your block. And this lasts over one entire month, the summer.
Mm.
So it's like hot as can be in Tokyo. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, and
Those
it's
heat.
grueling. So maybe last year wasn't as grueling because there was less matches, less like total matches for each competitor. But still, like, so the last 3 dates was you had the Block A champion go against Block D, and then Block C versus Block B.
Okay.
But the reason why it's so huge is because some of the matches of the years take place during this tournament, and especially that final. That
Yeah.
final, it doesn't matter who's in it. You're
It's
gonna
just
have an amazing
it's
match.
just gonna be watchable, definitely.
Yes,
Huh.
yes. Last year was Okada and Will Ospreay, and they
At
tore the
that, yeah.
house down.
Just
Yeah,
hearing that, just like damn. Just
yeah.
hearing that.
Just
The year
those
before,
two names are two of the biggest names you're ever going to hear coming out of New Japan.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
at least right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
or in
then
wrestling in general.
the year before was Okada and Jay or not Okada, Ibushi and Jay White. That match was insane.
Oh,
So it doesn't matter who's in that final match, you know you're gonna get a hell of a match. You're gonna get a Tokyo Dome main event. When
Yes,
speaking, the biggest show for New Japan is every January 4th, no matter what day of the year it is, whether it's a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, whatever. every January 4th, they're gonna run New Japan runs the Tokyo Dome, which is the biggest stadium, both in terms of popularity
Mhm.
and in
And
terms of
capacity.
capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, that's the last one we want to touch upon. So we said about FTR coming in, bringing in seats. Now, how about Jay White?
He's definitely so what I'm starting to see now is especially with AEW and New Japan, they're actually a lot more friendlier than New Japan was with Ring of Honor. So you're gonna see like especially you're gonna see a lot of cross promotion, maybe not so much with New Japan Japan, but you're gonna see it with their New Japan Strong. And you're gonna see a lot of more of those international talents that work for New Japan. Now they might show up on a Rampage or
Exactly.
a
Dynamite.
Or
maybe even a
Dynamite.
Dynamite. But
Yeah.
you're gonna see them more on like Rampage or Ring of Honor or maybe even Dark
Oh,
because
pay-per-view
What
too.
about Elevation?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, either Dark or Dark Elevation. But yeah, like especially like tomorrow night on Rampage, you're going to have it's not FTR, it's Best Friends. Best
Right.
Friends are going to face off against the new IWGP World Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, Aussie Open, and it's going to be for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championships.
Yeah. Something to
Yeah, it's gonna
watch.
be good, but
Yeah. So
I,
there's
I don't
already
think
a
they're gonna
lot
change the
of
titles right off
no,
that
no,
quick.
no,
I doubt it, but it's going to be a
no.
good showcase.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it's going to be a
definitely.
showcase, and it's going to showcase the very strong relationship now with AEW and New Japan.
Indeed.
Yeah.
John, your
That's why
thoughts?
a
What
lot
are
of
your
the
thoughts?
talents in All Elite have clauses in their contract that they can go wrestle in New Japan.
Yeah,
Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega, the Bucks, they all have
yeah,
contracts that say if they have a good date and New Japan wants them for that date, they're able to go
yeah.
do that date and then come back and do All Elite again.
The Bucks were actually able to do. They were actually originally booked for Wrestle Kingdom this year,
Hmm.
but I don't know if they were booked for a match or if they were just going to be a second for Kenny Omega. And mind you,
Right.
if I say someone like if the Bucks are going to be a second to Kenny Omega, that's just going to be like they're going to be ringside.
Yeah,
Hmm.
That's like a New Japan way of saying manager.
yeah,
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah.
but yeah, they were scheduled for Tokyo Dome this year, but unfortunately, they had a vacation already booked,
Oh
so
yeah.
they couldn't make those dates. But yeah, no, they want to go back to New Japan, and yeah, there's a lot of AEW talents that want to work for New Japan. There's a lot of New Japan talents would love to come to AEW. So that's the thing. Like they're talking about, like me and my friend, who's a very big Bullet Club fan. We're talking about maybe there might be the start of a Bullet Club Civil War. And now with Jay White here in AEW, they're probably going to bring in Chris Bay and oh, I'm trying to think of Ace Austin, the two Bullet Club guys that are in Impact Wrestling, and there might be a cross promotional Bullet Club war, which would be amazing to see.
Mm.
That would be insane.
Yeah.
But
Very good match.
So
let me
overall,
just backtrack
yeah,
a little
just
bit.
go ahead.
Going
Yeah.
back to the days of Jersey All Pro in Charity Hall
Okay.
and how they said blood is better. They literally had a doctor and a nurse in the back sewing these guys up because some of them got cut up pretty bad.
Oh yeah,
And
Hmm.
especially when the heavy hitters and the hit squad were in town,
Yeah.
which
Oh yeah.
was
wall,
just about
wall,
every show.
Hmm.
Exactly.
wall.
Wall.
Oh,
It
oh
comes down
yeah.
to one word. Wall.
Yeah,
That's it.
All
Yeah, we
together now. One, two, three. Wall.
wall.
whoa.
And I've watched some of those old videos on YouTube, and I think not just the crowd reaction, but the referee's reaction is absolutely priceless. And the one referee who gives always gave the best reaction was Hanson.
Oh
The
yes.
whole reffin' show.
He was a hilarious. He was a damn good ref too. He
Yeah,
got
he was
involved in
fun.
action. He
He was
knew.
fun to work. He was fun to watch.
Yeah.
He
Wow.
was fun to watch.
So as you could
He
see,
was really cool guy too.
Hmm.
He would stand at intermissions at Jersey All Pro shows. He would stand outside and talk to the fans, and I talked to him plenty of times. And he was a good guy to talk to.
So to summarize it all, then, as we just shown from our love of wrestling, a lot you can see that what brings us back together is, as we said, the way the crowd interacts with us, the way the wrestlers interact with us, even the referees and ring crew and whatnot, and the
Yeah.
way they tell stories. So everything about that is what gets us to want to buy a ticket, go buy their merchandise, go support them. And
Yes.
it's something that I feel like, and I'm not sure how you feel about it, but I think sometimes that's where I feel like WWE loses because I feel
Yes.
like
I agree.
they tend to go more on the more. I guess they wanted to have their own home style thing, which
Well,
kind of,
WWE
but
is I see it as WWE is more like they just as long as they get your money, they don't care.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like they try to promote, hey, oh, wrestler inactivity, this, that, and the other. They don't care. Like sometimes when
The
I
only time
like
you really have access to the stars is WWE WrestleMania Access.
yeah,
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 You don't
and
see anything at any of the other pay-per-views. The only time you see it is around WrestleMania.
the
exactly.
official ways. And mind you, like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I'm against the fans that, hound these people
Yeah,
and
don't
like,
do it.
yeah, no, don't do it. Like
No.
they're especially at an airport,
Yeah,
like
don't do
these
it.
people like they're like so
They're
out of it
exhausted.
and yeah, they're exhausted, they're tired. But
It would be 4 in the morning too.
yeah. But like with WWE, like sometimes what got me out of them is that I would watch Raw, I would watch SmackDown, and I would feel like insulted as a audience member. Like I would feel like stupid and like not taken advantage of, but like when I would watch that show, it would make me feel dumb, which is not
Mm,
what you should do with your audience.
no.
No,
I
not
would
at all.
watch AEW, I would watch Ring of Honor, New Japan, hell, even Impact as of late, and I would be entertained. I wouldn't feel like I'm bad for liking what I like. That was a big thing. Like I felt like wrong for
Yeah,
liking what I like. The liking the wrestling that I like.
Yeah,
yeah,
But the
exactly.
way WWE was that it made me feel horrible. Like I was bad for liking the style of wrestling that I do.
nah. You should
Yeah,
never
exactly.
be.
No, you should never be.
All right,
All right,
folks.
guys.
It's time to wrap this up.
Yeah,
Yes,
wonderful discussion today.
Thank
absolutely.
you.
Great.
Yeah.
Great to
All
hear
right.
everybody's opinions on everything.
Indeed. Brain, take us away.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, check us out on YouTube, Beyond the Barricade, Spotify, Beyond the Barricade Wrestling Podcast. Till next time, too sweet.
Too sweet.